Okay. All right, here we go. So, I suppose the first thing to say is how we came about into being, not in terms of the evolution perspective, but more so how we started out as an entity. So, I suppose how I got into yoga was probably perhaps the first step to explain. But as most males, probably it's a generalisation, but I was suffering from bad knees, bad back, etc., and I wanted to do something about it. And I basically sought to find things to help with that. And I went to osteopaths and chiropractors and things like that, and nothing really. Everything worked for a day or two, but then nothing really stuck. So I'd heard yoga was good, so I was like, right, I'm going to try some yoga out. And then I embarked on trying some yoga around where I was, and I found that it was, I found it all pretty odd, if I'm honest. I didn't know what I was doing, why I was doing, although I knew inherently it was for the benefit, but perhaps in my mindset I didn't know why what was being achieved. So I kept on digging and searching, and I stumbled across a practice called Bikram yoga, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. And it was hell for an hour and a half, but it was the best feeling I've ever experienced in my life. And it was like I walk out of something like that, and something just changes. So I kept on trying to go to it, and I couldn't, because of how far it was or how expensive it was and where I was at the time. So it was just in my early 20s, I couldn't really afford it, etc. All of these factors. But then there was this wonderful studio called Yoga Haven, which opened up in Clapham, and I basically just it encompassed the heat, lots of other bits and pieces, and I just fell in love with it. I basically went every day in, day out, and it soothed me physically, and then down the road, then the mental stuff happens, and then emotionally, etc. So that was kind of how I got into it. And at the same time, Max, who is my co-founder, he was kind of seeing what I was doing, and he was like, firstly, concerned by his dear friend, we'd been traveling together, etc. Getting into yoga, and as a male, he had these preconceptions of what yoga was, etc. And then I basically started doing. They did a teacher training, and I joined up in their teacher training. I just did it on the side, and I was a school teacher at the time. Let's say school teacher. I was a teaching assistant in a nursery school, and it was which was awesome. But at the time, so I was doing it part time, and I was thinking about education, but I was also did teacher training on the side, and I was just teaching yoga at Yoga Haven on the weekends. And so Max, bring Max back in, he observed me. He was like, mate, what are you doing? And I was like, he was concerned about my career choices and things like that. And I was like, mate, this is the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. You need to come and try it. And he was like, yeah, but he's like, yeah, yoga's not for me. Like, okay, trust me. But then he went to classes around him, checked some stuff out, similar to what I had done, and he was like, yeah, I don't really get it. And I was like, well, just come to one of my classes, and he then came to one of my classes at yoga, and it comes to heat, probably not because I was teaching it, but he then stepped out and he had that same kind of release feeling and that clicking feeling of like why he was doing it and what I made him feel. And it was at that point then we then sat down and we were like, why is it that it took he and I so long to understand what we were doing and why we were doing it? And why was it that there were so many barriers for him to be like, nah, I'm all right. He had those preconceptions behind what a lot of people probably do. And I suppose that's where it all began, in the sense that this is something that we wanted to change. If it made us feel like this, then it can make other people feel like that. So we then set about setting up Hotpod Yoga, and Hotpod Yoga basically was to focus on people who've never done yoga before, to try and get them to come and taste it, try it, and ultimately fall in love with it and bring it into their lives. So, and we do that and we created these. You probably wonder why we do this with inflatable things, but we created a pod to create an environment which is warm, dark, immersive for people who are new to it, who might feel uncomfortable, which is warm, encompassing comes to the heat, so it obviously gets your body moving. You just basically feel incredible afterwards. And it is like when we started, well, it is portable, so we can take it to places, so give the experience to people. And that was, give it to rugby teams, schools, giving the stress to taking the stress to corpus, etc. So kind of wanted to give it like that. So that was a little bit of an intro, and that's when we started. We founded it in 2013, and we were driven by experience coming to yoga and the desire to change it for others. And now we're 5 years old, and apparently Europe's biggest yoga business. There you go. But I suppose, like, as an introduction, the real purpose and behind that is that over these 5 years that we've been doing it, it's, yes, we've learned, we've worked with hundreds of teachers and thousands of students, and I suppose, like, inherently learning, I suppose, from my perspective as a teacher and from the studios, understanding what encompasses, like, a good teacher, and then working with people like Penn who work closely together to really understand that. And that's why we decided to create another teacher training school, because there's lots out there. But I suppose with those kind of experiences and background, we wanted to set one up. So, and now 43 locations, 6,000 classes. But I thought we would just delve into a little bit of a life as a yoga instructor. So, yeah, give a better idea about that. So the first thing, it's hard work. And this isn't meant to put you off, I suppose, to give you a sense of realism. It is like, certainly when you start, and I think it's up early, and you're doing it social hours, it's physically demanding, and then mentally demanding, and emotionally, because you're giving a lot, energetically as well. There's travel times, there's down times. You're basically, if you are in a 9 to 5, that then, if you were to take yourself away from that, things change. It would be morning and evening. Personally, I think it's a wonderful thing, because actually you don't have the whole rest of your day to do whatever you want to do, if you get the timing right. But it is hard work. I think there's a preconception with yoga teachers that it's just kind of chilling, swanning around, not doing too much. But it's you do give a lot, and you do have to look after yourself. To that. Penn's going to give it. Break it down even more in a bit. It is flexible, and excuse the pun, but it's like you can make it work around your other if you have other jobs, other working activities. You can make it work. But again, you need to manage your energy levels, because I know a lot of people do that, and it's giving all day and in the evening as well. So it's just being mindful about that. It is varied, and I think, yes, that's a beach, or near a beach. But so you can do it anywhere in the world. And I think even if it's not where you are in the world at a specific time, you can start it up and do it there. It's you're working with many different types of people, and you can focus on the types of people you want to work with. And that, if I just give an example, we know people who, wonderful Zara, who works with prison inmates in Brixton Prison, and work with people in hospital. And, like, it doesn't just have to be in a studio perspective, it can be any focus. And ultimately, it is like, it's the most rewarding thing when you have, well, I suppose people kind of walk in feeling one thing and then walk out feeling completely different. And I suppose you will experience that. It's just like it changes how you as a student feel, and as a teacher to experience that and see that, and to know that you've helped them along the way to do that. That's the best thing. Pete, do you have any wisdom to share on that?
Yeah. No, it is a transferable skill, I guess. You can take it absolutely anywhere, and Like we were just saying about being rewarding, I have people that I teach outside of London. It can create such a sense of community that you almost feel like a little family coming together. As people experience things, they're having things going on in their lives, bereavements, illness, whatever it is, they always feel that they can come to the yoga mat, whether it's at the pod or elsewhere, and just be themselves. And that's such a magic thing in this day and age. And to be a facilitator, to help facilitate that, is the kind of the rewarding aspect. So yeah, you make small changes in people's lives that are really tangible. But yeah, like I say, it's hard work. You're giving a lot, so I think you have to have that passion for actually wanting to give and wanting to teach and wanting to facilitate people in this capacity really to become a teacher or to embark on the course. Like you might want to do it for your practice, of course, to advance that and to have more experience in practice, but also if you're doing a teacher training, you are going to be learning how to teach and share and provide that knowledge for other people. So it's having that passion as well, even if it's a really tiny part of the why.
So it's really important doing what you're doing now to search out or discover, or to really find the right course for you. I think there's one thing, it's like, what kind of style of yoga do you like? Do you enjoy practicing initially to that will be the spark, and then do you want to teach that style? We'll talk more about the style which we are developing in terms of teacher training. Where you want to do it as well. Do you want to be in London? And I know this is therefore the time thing, and obviously the financial cost as well, but would you rather be immersed on a beach somewhere? Or out in the countryside, or I don't know, really thinking those things through. Where do you learn best? Would be good. And yeah, I suppose also talking to other teachers, where did they teach? Where did the teachers that you enjoy train? Might be worth exploring that as well.
Yeah, how you learn best is a good point, because some people enjoy an intensive where it's all in one, it's pretty much every day for a month or a little bit more. And there's no real break in between, and some people really love that big load of knowledge and to integrate it afterwards. But other people are more sort of, I wouldn't want to say slower paced, but just different in that they like to learn a little bit, integrate a little bit, learn a bit, integrate a little bit. So that will have a bearing on the length of course that you do and the type. So it's worth really considering how you like to learn. Do you like to have space to integrate, or do you want to do it all in one and just build it up?
Cool. So what this course is, it is a 200-hour vinyasa flow teacher training. It is not Hotpod Yoga specific 200-hour training. It is a wholesome course. So it's not just like a Hotpod Yoga, which is under Hotpod Yoga brand, but it is not a specific Hotpod Yoga training. The focus, there is a core focus on teaching experience, and I think it might seem obvious, but there are, I suppose, within my teacher training, which was wonderful, it was amazing, but there wasn't a huge amount of teaching focus. Whereas with this, what we wanted to create was something whereby you're teaching from day one, and it's to basically get you ready and prepared for teaching immediately as you leave. So the exercises and breaking you out of your comfort zone in order to feel comfortable talking in front of people, exploring that is a real core focus. One which is just just repeated every day, day in, day out, with lots of other things which we'll talk to in a bit, but mainly that. Focusing on what's practically important, I think that I think it's there is, because it is such a vast subject, it can be a bit of a minefield, and there is, you know, with yoga, you've probably heard that there's got a lot of philosophy behind it and thinking behind it. Of course, we do focus on that. However, we've also distilled it so that, like, we'll give you a touch on it all, and we'll go into depth in it all, but really focus on the bits that you will need, not just within the course, but then thereafter, which then brings you on to the next this one, career focused, focusing on, like, what you need to do in afterwards as well. So there is kind of preparation along the way, and then just back to this guy. The materials and teaching approach, I think everything we've kind of designed, from handbooks to presentations, to basically help the information to sink in a little bit, and I hope you can refer back to the manuals provided, because you can just kind of keep dipping in and out of them, color coded, etc. So as a dyslexic, I find it difficult to engage in education. However, and therefore it's just trying to really ensure that it's enjoyable and bite-sized, and I would hope fun. Anything else clear on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the theory versus practice, basically the balance. So a lot of yoga teacher trainings that are out there are very theory-based. There's lots of lectures and an incredible amount of knowledge to take on, but there's not so much practical. This one is really practical. So when Nick says you're going to be teaching from day one, he's not lying. You're teaching every single day. And that is what we feel is strength. And we're really helping people to develop themselves and their own confidence and their voice and their presence as a teacher from day one. So when you look out there at the myriad of courses that are presented, I feel like this is one of the most practical ones, or the most practical one that I know of. So it's a good balance. You know, you get the theory, you get the content, of course, and in more depth, and then the onus is on you to then take it into even more depth if you would like to, but you get that broad range of knowledge. And the practical, that bolstering of yourself and you kind of stepping out there into the world, being able to teach. Because I found a lot of courses, and the one that I did too, it didn't really focus on that, and I came out thinking, I don't actually feel like I have the confidence right now. I know I'm going to build it up out there in the real world, but this one really focuses within the course, so that you guys will get to ask the people that did it later, and they can be honest with you about these things. But yeah, that is the thing that we most focus on, isn't it?
Absolutely,
cultivating the person as a teacher.
Yeah.
With the knowledge kind of injected around that.
Yeah. And I think we're not trying to make you, we're trying to make you a teacher. However, ultimately, what we're trying to do is bring the personality out of you. So we're trying to make you be you, teacher. And I think it's a scary thing to do, because you're exposing yourself, but that's the process we'll go through. And the best teacher is you, just being you, and how you relate to it as well. So that's what we're trying to draw out. What this course is not. It's not dogmatic. So we ultimately you find whatever you like, whatever you focus on, it's you draw that out of the course. We're only there as guideposts, signposts to showcase and educate in certain areas. It is, as I said, it's a Hotpod Yoga style teacher training, but it's not a Hotpod Yoga, to become a Hotpod Yoga teacher. Although if he wants to be, we can be. And it is an exam-focused course. I believe that exams basically, I think they shift the focus on what the purpose of learning is like personally. So learning is about. So rather than okay, I've got to remember this stuff before the exam at the end. It's like remember the stuff because you really enjoy it and you want to learn it, rather than focusing on a specific thing. The exam could be what's called a community class at the end, i.e. you teaching a full class of random people rather than just the teachers doing the course. But it's not an exam, that's just what you'll have to do after the course. So, yeah. Anything else, please?
I did have something, you'll come back to me.
A little bit of day-to-day schedule, and class of 2018 probably basically used to beat me into timings. But roughly, morning routine, morning class, either a Hotpod Yoga class or a normal vinyasa class, so not in the heat.
Can you tell us the times, because I can't see it back?
So this, at the moment, is starting at 7 AM, so morning class. However, it might be an 8 AM start. And I think, going forward, what we'll try and do is make it 8 AM start to help with just recovery, basically. But showers, breakfast, morning journaling. Any of you, anyone done journaling before? Yeah, cool. That's great. Morning meditation, actually morning meditation, then journaling. Previous day recap. So this is to talk about lots of things, also to try and flesh out anything that you remember from what you learned the day before. So to try and get the information into you, and so it's just constant repetition, basically. When I say the information being on specific workshops, so it could be anything from philosophy, breathing, Ayurveda, conversions, anything like that, anything theory-based or practical-based as well. Lots of breaks. Breaks are important. Keeps you interested. Posture clinics. So posture clinics are basically where we break down postures. And so we will the initial postures will be breaking down postures within a sequence. We'll basically teach you a sequence within the first 2 weeks. Then you will basically learn that sequence off by heart. And I hope the methods that we kind of do allow that sequence to kind of become ingrained. And then after those, once we've learned those postures, then we learn more postures after that, so that you can be in those postures within that sequence, should you like. And then a workshop in the afternoon, and as I said, on lots of different things. And then we'll have a little posture practical of the stuff of the postures that we learned that day, or basically doing a class as a collective wherever we are in the sequence. We then might have an external class touching on and trying lots of different types of yoga. So forest, Jivamukti, acro. What else do we do? Ashtanga, Iyengar. Someone heard about this stuff? The types? Yeah, so exploring that as well. So what we want to do is give you a real taste for what else there is apart from just vinyasa. And then in the evening, a little meditation, a little journal, a little recap discussion, and then that would be it. And ideally, this is 7 till 5:45. What we're trying to do is try and condense it to 8 till 5. That's our plan. That means a bit more time scheduling, but it will always encompass that. And that, really, yes, Emily.
Before we move on to these guys, it's probably worth saying that also, as you get a little bit further down the line in terms of the course, included in that daily schedule, we throw in practical sessions on things like marketing yourself as a yoga teacher and managing your finances, or even submitting tax returns as a self-employed person, how to approach studios and try to get work with them.
Building yourself up as a brand as well.
Yeah.
So Business Basics, led by Max, who runs Hotpod Yoga as well.
I think if you've been employed full time somewhere and then suddenly you change your career to be self-employed and you've got to go out there and introduce yourself to people and like sell yourself effectively as a yoga teacher, it can be quite scary and a bit daunting to do in the beginning. So that's one of the practical things Nick was mentioning that we try to arm everybody with so they feel confident and comfortable to do that when they leave.
Yeah.
Also included as part of the course is first aid training. So a lot of yoga studios will ask you for your basic first aid in order to be able to teach them. And so we include that as part of the course. So that you're basically set to kind of go and start approaching studios as soon as you finish.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'd like this just to kind of touch on some of the point about not being dogmatic. What we do is actually provide a range of opinions. So actually, there's not like a black and white exactly how you do this pose. Like you get a number of opinions from different perspectives, from different schools of yoga. So you, in effect, find the one that works for you and your body as an individual and as a teacher. It's not like this is the exact thing that you say, although there's a roadmap if you want to use that kind of structure. So if you like the structural aspect of having something fixed to follow, there is that to provide for that. But if you like to have a little bit more freedom, actually that is encompassed as well. So we just try and give you actually like a balance of what's out there opinion-wise. This is happening Ashtanga, you want to think about these things, anatomy-wise, or whatever it is in each pose, or as broad a range of opinions as we can bring in, so that we can actually arm you with that wide perspective, if you like. So you don't just come out going, well, this is the exact way and there is no other way. So it's almost like that's part of you finding your personality as a teacher, is you find what works for you in small ways during the course. And then you find that even though everybody's learned the same sequence essentially, they're all teaching a completely different class. Their personalities are coming out in different ways. Things are natural to them that aren't natural to the next person. So we don't produce identical yoga teachers. That's for sure. Like everybody comes out with their USP, which is basically their own personality, singing. Well, that's our intention. So yeah. That's what I thought.
Great point. Cool. Well, I suppose rather than us talking about how we find it, I will let the class of 2018. So we had the wonderful Drew, Mariel, Ali, and Mark. You got section?
I'll see you. Yeah.
Rupert? Yeah. But do you have any particular thoughts or memories?
Very fond memories.
Yeah.
Very fond. Yeah, it's an incredible course. I did the 1 month intensive. Signed up quite last minute. Yoga was something that I hadn't really done for years. I practiced like maybe once or twice a week. So it wasn't like a huge part of my life. I'm a big runner and cyclist and swimmer, so it was quite a nice addition to my schedule. Yeah, so I signed up quite last minute to the course and didn't regret it at all. Kind of in between jobs at the moment, so it came at a good time. Very excited about using it, at least part-time, possibly full-time. Thoughts on the course are that it is pretty grueling, it's very physically and mentally tiring. But at the same time, it kind of flies by. It's a lot of fun. Like you've got these long days from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. But they kind of fly by. Have lots of fun doing it, so you don't really notice it until you're going to bed at night. Knackered. It is, I'd recommend if you do it, I would suggest possibly having quite a free schedule for the month, thus allowing the time to properly let everything sink in and really dedicate like 110% to it. Because I think there were moments during the course when I was like busy socialising in the evenings for a few days at a time. And really struggled with that, so I recommend having quite a sort of straightforward month if you can do it. It's really worth just throwing it. Can't really speak more highly of it. I think it's a really great course. The people involved are excellent, like obviously Nick and Penny at the helm, solid, but then also there's like a sort of array of different other yoga teachers. Interesting people that come in every so often, sort of peppering it with different views and viewpoints, which is really useful. And then met some like really cool people. There's 9 of us, and we all got on very well and experienced something really great together. I think we were quite lucky, had a good crew. But,
Shame I like Ruka.
yeah. So, I suppose lastly also it's a really nice place to learn. This Hotpod in general, it's such a great brand, but also like just this space. It's a really nice place to be. The teachers are great, and the routine that you get into is very pleasant. It's difficult to I suppose you sort of miss it very much afterwards. Anything else?
I think you've spoken for everyone. I hated it.
Jackie?
Yeah, I suppose you said a lot of things that I also agree with. I similarly to Drew came into training not doing yoga every day, far from it, twice a week. Couldn't do a handstand. Probably still can't do a handstand actually, but I can teach a class, which is more important. I was very excited and curious. I didn't really know what would come out of it. And I was in between jobs, and yeah, but just knew that I would do something that I would, for myself, that I would never regret, and that's exactly what happened, basically. I ended up taking a new job, but I'm not regretting it. I can incorporate this into my life in many different ways. What I would add, I guess, is that the training is very much what you want it to be. So it's such a different learning environment from schools and what we've been used to. If you want to go in, 100% energy every day and just ask away questions and be super switched on all the time, you can do that. If you want it to be more chilled and have a different energy to it, you can also do that. These guys will never, they are the least different person on earth probably. So it's a very friendly, come as you are place, which is great. Yeah.
Did you have any preconceptions?
I think so. I came to this open evening myself, and I think they did a good job. We had to just, I was quite sure after the evening that it would be all good. My only preconception was, am I good enough? And I came in the first day being like, not too sure. I'm probably the least. And then it just all like kind of goes away because that's not even the topic. It's about becoming a teacher. It's very different from being good at yoga. That's really not the same thing.
Can I concur with that in that I think I spoke to you prior to the calls and I had a real crisis of confidence, like I'm not good enough, my yoga practice is not strong enough. And just if you've got those doubts, take them out of your head now. because it's not about having the whatever perfect yoga practice anyway. I don't think anyone's got practice, even those that can do all the postures. There's still more to learn. There's still you can still go further. You can still evolve your practice further. Likewise with these two guys, I was practicing a couple of times a week at best. I had an injury for 6 months and I hadn't done anything. So yeah, if you've got chat to Penny and Nick and just say, this is where I'm at. I say if you've got good solid 12 months, you can practice it. But don't think you have to be practicing every day and for like 5 years and do headstands and handstands and tie yourself in knots. Just anyway, I can't remember that. But yeah, don't have faith. Sorry.
No, that was
I just really enjoyed that because that was like flowing. We're flowing. Let's carry on. So the other thing that I would say is generally at the end of the course, every single person taught an online class and did it confidently and competently. And on day one, I never thought that these guys would be able to transform into that in life. And it's just really satisfying, genuinely do it. My takeaways from the course were mainly around diversity. So yeah, it's teaching you to be a vinyasa flow teacher, but I've experienced things in the last month here that I never ever thought would experience. And it's just not creepy things, not weird things, seriously not weird things, nice things. No, but the different types of yoga, I mean, that was weird. No. But genuinely pleasurable experiences, like the different types of yoga. I mean, I love the Acro yoga. Jivamukti it's just fun and an experience. But I would never go to Jivamukti. Meditation. Still can't say that I'm the greatest meditator in the world. Just find the time twice a day to go and actually. Ayurveda, never even heard of it. Building a brand, doing all the business basics, so things that you don't are involved in. You could just go on philosophy, love philosophy. It probably is great to top of the iceberg. Just go for it. Anyway, there's a huge list of things, the workshops we do. So yeah, the diversity of the course. And then I think my final point would be the teaching. So as Drew said, Nick and Penny are just amazing. But then supported by a whole crew of people. I don't know how many, we must have a dozen at least yoga teachers in there, who've all got different personalities, different stories, different routes, how they've come to be a yoga teacher. They're willing to share their experiences with you and their views and their opinions. And it might conflict with what these guys are saying, like he was saying. But just get to soak this information up like a sponge. And then after the teachers, you've got the other specialists there, Ayurveda, philosophy and breathing. So yeah, they were my takeaways. And like these guys, I would say the intensive course is intensive. So yeah, be prepared to work hard, prepare for your break a bit and clear your diary. I think that's what you're going to do. Mona?
I guess I would say I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with yoga. So I first came to it when I was in Thailand a few years ago. It was Sanskrit with the spirituality, and it was like calming everything down. I was like, oh. I literally just walked out, and it wasn't until I moved back to London, so I've got a bit of it wasn't until I moved back to London and found Hotpod that actually I found a yoga that work for me. And I never planned on doing yoga training. I actually point blank refused to do it. Loads of people have been saying, why do you do it? Why do you do it? And I was like, no, because I really enjoy yoga and I want to carry on enjoying it. And if I learn how to teach it, that will take the enjoyment away from it. So I signed up about 2 weeks ago. I was on a 6-month break from work, and it was without doubt the best thing I've ever done. It was just so much fun. It was like turning up I mean, I hated school, but it was like you enjoyed school. I imagine it's like enjoying school. You were just playing all day. And yes, you're knackered, but just recap discussion. That schedule makes me laugh. It just went out the window with that clock because we talked about it. But it was like therapy every day and moving your body, and it was insane. And I mean, I went into it because I was like, well, I've had 6 months off, got nothing to show for it, I'm due back in work, I should really do something. And didn't ever think I'd teach. And now my boyfriend and I are moving to Bath. We're hunting for venues to do a franchise. I'm not committed to teaching. I've sadly, as you can probably tell in my outfit, had to go back to work for a bit. But come October, now I'm done. I'm going to be teaching yoga. But what's really nice is actually the skills it taught me away from yoga, things like meditating, the importance of moving your body, just different perspectives of eating food and drink and stuff like that have just stayed with me. So I never used to be able to meditate, and now every morning before I go to work, I do 10 minutes. And so no matter what rubbish gets thrown at me during the day, I have that commitment. And if I honestly thought about it, never thought I'd commit to that after the course, because I was like, I'm in a safe space, it's just going to go out the window. But because of how good the course was and how good it made me feel, and seeing all the benefits to everything else it taught me, it's just made sense to carry it on. And yeah, made amazing friends. I'm lucky I live just around the corner, so I'm in the quite often, but it's just so much more than yoga. It is all the stuff they teach you, but it does teach you some confidence, it teaches you life skills that no matter what you do afterwards, they're going to stick with you. So even if you don't want to be a yoga teacher, just get an interest rate credit card and do it. That's what I did. My mum's interest free. Paid off £30 a month. Money well spent. Yeah. So yeah, I just had so much fun. I was knackered. I cried in front of people. I still have an elbow injury, which I'm probably going to see something about, but I wouldn't change any of it. It was brilliant. And if I could go back and do it again, I would. Probably need to. But, yeah, just do it because it's completely numb, and that's all I can say about it.
Right. Well, question time.
Hello.
Hello.
My question's more about after the course, because obviously it's quite a big commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, to quit your job.
Yeah.
Decide I'm going to be a yoga teacher. And obviously I've been looking around and things, and there's some courses that have like mentoring things after for a few months, or slots in their studio after. I was wondering how things work after, whether there's like a mentoring thing, whether there's a possibility of a job at Hotpod Yoga. Do you pick the best one? Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Well, it's I suppose the mentoring side of it, we do what's called community classes. Can do community classes. We've been doing that. We do that. So we do the initial community classes about at the end of the course. So if you were to join the course, you would teach a community class, and if you live relatively close by, we could set up a couple more community classes there afterwards, kind of in 4 till 5 p.m. So there's one today, as an example. So we could do that. We don't specifically do a mentoring program afterwards at the moment. It might be something we might do, might try to bring on. With regards to getting a job, I suppose it's depends where we are at the time. If we are in need of more team members, then and you're available, and we think we align really well, then absolutely we'd do get involved. But it's difficult to tell until right at the time.
Yeah. It was just that thing whether obviously I don't know whether the course is, once you've done it, you've done your community classes, whether you feel like that's enough then to teach.
Well, we'll support in like, it's not a case of just like pseudo advice. Like, okay, where are you? Can you like, always in communication, seeing how you're getting on? Is there anything that we can do to help you go along? So I suppose there is that. I suppose it's not specific like mentoring. It's more support afterwards. But yeah, it's definitely not something where we just kind of see you at the end of it. Right? See you later. It's like, okay, how can we help? Give me a call whenever you want.
If you do come on board as a teacher with Hotpod as well, even if you've been through the teacher training course, we run like another training, a one-day training on top that you can join in if you do end up being a Hotpod teacher. And then we, for all of our new teachers, run like a small shadowing program. So you may shadow one of our regularly scheduled London teachers for a couple of sessions, or you were to start taking cover at Hotpod, and then once you've taken a certain amount of cover, if a regularly scheduled spot comes available, then we'd open it up to recent grads or yourself and say, hey, this spot's open, do you want it? So immediately after the course, it might not be the case that something opens, but if something does open in the relatively near future after the course and you're around and you're available, then of course we're going to look to the people that we've trained first over somebody who's just applied randomly from the outside because we know you already.
Yeah, and it's so practically based. It would be unbelievably unusual if you came out of the course not feeling like you could teach. When they say community class, it's a public class that you're teaching between week 3 and 4. You're teaching the public already during and within the course, and you're only building on your teaching skills after that, or just around that. So when you leave, you'll feel confident. 100% of people so far, and we hope in the future, feel utterly confident to walk out the door. That's the main reason we do what we do in the way that we do, is to instill so much confidence that, and give you maps and things to follow to approach studios or teachers you know, etc. And just give you that practical boost of how to get a job as well. That, it would be utterly unlikely that you wouldn't feel confident to then go on. If you said, okay, now I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time yoga teacher, you would be equipped to do that if you wanted to.
I think one of the people in our Lenny on our class is now picked up. She's back up in Newcastle, but she's like 6 weeks out, got 3 regular slots every week.
3 months a week.
Yeah, and she did that. I mean, that was like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
it's and then we've got guys opening up their studios, Taunton, Uxbridge. It's it is nerve wracking. It's not as if you're going to come up being like, yeah, I nailed that, I'm going to do another one. But you kind of go into it being like, no, I know how to do this.
I can do it.
And actually, the more I do it, the better it's going to get. But we've all now taught public classes, so yeah, and that's as far as I know, I never had any problem with that.
Yeah, you've done it within the support system.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's always a bit, people, I hope you feel that people are always kind of available. You're still in contact and you can always ask things.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you said there is a formal mentoring system, but definitely I know that, so certainly Nick and Penny when you're in contact with them, anything. But also some of the other teachers that joined, and any of the Hotpod teachers here as well. So get to know a lot of people just attending classes and just through conversation. And I genuinely feel like I can approach anyone who wants.
The other thing I would say as well is you don't have to just go full time straight afterwards. So I've gone back to work for 6 months, and I initially said I'd go back 3 days a week and do time, go back full time. But from June, I'm going to go part time in my job, and I'm going to do this part time, and then when I've got myself back to a financially stable place and I've kind of got my ducks in a row, then I'll kind of do it full time. But it doesn't have to be right. So I'm going to say goodbye to my corporate job and then go they do this?
My life's not that friendly. I mean, I'm going to
Yeah, so it's kind of above BT, it's not that friendly. But it's that kind of, you know, you don't have to be all or nothing. I think it's really nice that there's that support network around you that you can just like dip your toe in, get used to it, and then build up your confidence. You don't have to do it for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And you don't lose practical. You don't feel that you lose.
No, I mean you have to practice. You have to do your own
You do have to keep it up, for sure.
But and like I speaking for like we've been a few weeks since I last taught, but I've been practicing nearly every day since I finished, so I still remember kind of what Warrior 2 is, and that's actually that counts. That's every day.
So I think, like, for example, these guys, like, Lucy's working, Marilyn's working, but at the same time, I know that we had the rest of it, like, if I approach them or they approach me and say, can I do another community class? That's cool. And also, we need some cover, or would you like a class? So I would offer it, and I would offer it to these guys. Sure. So there's that. Because you build such a tight relationship throughout the time you spend with each other, you get to know one another, and ultimately we like, no matter like what level you are, we train to become like a good, confident teacher at the end of it. Doesn't matter who you are, and therefore we have confidence to be able to be like, of course, come and teach for us in another community, etc.
What are the different course options? So I know that there's 1 month course. And then, so what's the other option?
The next
Non-intensive.
Yeah, non-intensive. So it's a week long, 10 days long.
Yeah, so the 2 course options are the month intensive, which actually all 4 of these guys did, and then what we call the weekender course, which is still the same amount of time, but it's spread over about 5 months. So it's a week up front, or 7 days back to back up front, and then you do 3 3-day weekends. So the next one, for example, starts in July. So you do a week in July, then a 3-day weekend, which is always Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in September, October, and November. And then it's about 8 or 9 days in the final month to kind of complete the number of days that you need to make the course. So it spreads the whole thing over about 5 months, and means that if you are working, you only have to take 2 full weeks and then 1 Friday in each of the in-between months of work. And we run 2 weekender courses per year, usually from February to June and then July to November. And then we run 3 month intensive courses per year. And they're usually March, July, August, and November, December. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like doing the intensive course is a lot better because you just get it over and done with. And I feel like it depends on the individual and their individual, but that, because you've all done the 1 month's course, it seems like that's the most popular one to go.
We actually had pretty much the same number in the weekend group as we do in the intensive group. Yeah, because a lot of people find that they don't have the luxury of a whole month at a time off work, and they have to manage it around a working schedule. If you've got the luxury of having a whole month off, yeah, it's great to throw yourself in. If you learn well that way, some other people have decided to take a weekend course because they'd actually prefer to have a break between each chunk of learning. So I wouldn't necessarily say that one approach is better than the other. It's just what works best for your schedule, what else is going on in your life, and how best do you learn, I would say.
It's still kind of intense. 200 hours is a lot of hours. So it's important to feel out the options for yourself. Think about what's important for you as a student, potential teacher, and and see what rapport you have with the course, the people, the providers, the people that have done it. It's quite a big choice, but a very exciting one. yeah, because as these guys said, it's hard work, but it's also really rewarding and fun. Yeah.
Well, it's like Drew said, if you personally had say you have a lot of personal commitments and trainings on, I would go for the weekend course. I think it's okay to have a few things in the diary and you can juggle that around. But actually, to get the most for your money and for yourself, you want to be able to dedicate the time. And really, when you're not here, so it's long days and it's intense days, a lot of learning, a lot of physical nature. You really then need to be resting and recovering the next day so you can throw yourself into it. Again. So
You don't have any blenders.
I'm like,
Yeah. All you do is you literally go home and sleep. And it's the nicest month, you know, you can like, take the time, if you can clear stuff out, it's such a nice kind of excuse to do nothing. And I think especially in London, like we run around manage trying to do anything, if you can just say, actually, no, what we're not here this month. You feel good at the end of it.
Yeah, you change and develop as well, right? So you need a little time to kind of to come down and up from that each day. We integrate self-reflection with meditation and journaling, but it is important to kind of, just let yourself have the time within it to grow a little bit with it as well.
You're talking about not necessarily I definitely want to be teaching. Definitely. I was doing it because I was opening Hotpod franchise, and I wanted to increase my knowledge and understanding of what my own teaching is, and I just taught my fifth class. So you do change so much.
Can I ask where the course is going to be held? Is it here or South Wimbledon?
South Wimbledon. It will be, yeah.
It's right opposite South Wimbledon Tube Station, which is on the Northern Line. Previously it's been here, but we're just finishing building a new teacher training centre down there. So it'll be a studio like this is and a teacher training facility. And from June onwards, all of the courses will be held there.
I have a question. I know you guys have touched down on this already, but I just wanted to make sure because it's actually what's been holding me back from it for a while. I tore my hamstring a year ago, and it's almost recovered. Can I do this with this kind of thing?
Yeah, you can.
So I wasn't sure, like, if you're not an ASAP, I used to practice pretty much every day, or like 5 times a week before, and then this happened, and I had to slow down to almost not at all. So you can totally count if you're not ASAP.
Yeah, of course. We adapt around people's practice, their experience, their injuries, their requirements day to day. So just keep in touch, I would say, as to how it's going. But like you had some misgivings about injuries before coming on, Jack.
Yeah, I had hip injury.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually forced me to go away.
Oh,
that's just me. So that was pretty fortunate. But yes, I was a little bit nervous, and it helped me to clear out any doubt that it would be also adapted to me, and it's not like it's a course where it's 30 participants.
It is pretty small group, you said.
It's fairly intimate, yeah. So you get a lot of individual care, I'd say, especially at the moment when it's still growing. So yeah, everybody gets time to express what they need to express, or for us to be able to adapt things towards each individual as and when they require it, to be honest. Yeah, so I wouldn't let that stop you. You don't have to be A star anyway. If anyone else is thinking, oh my god, I'm not A star either.
I think it also comes back to your point earlier. I just wanted to check before that this wasn't going to be one school of alignment, because it's sometimes people do an Ashtanga training, for example, we're going to be taught one. Yes. Yeah. Here it's more about experience it for yourself. How does it feel? Okay, then maybe integrate that, or you could try it this way, try it that way, and then ultimately becomes quite personal to you.
Awesome, thanks.
That leads me on to the question. Sorry.
After doing the course, it's a Yoga Alliance qualification. Test. Can you just go to any yoga studio and say that I can teach vinyasa flow? And are there any limitations to what you can and can't teach? No limitations that would be imposed on any 200-hour vinyasa flow teacher. Okay. Yeah, you're certified by
Yoga Alliance.
Yoga Alliance worldwide. Yeah, so you could go to a studio anywhere with the kind of basic 200-hour vinyasa flow and get a class there, theoretically. If you want to.
I wondered what your thoughts are on putting yoga teachers out into the world after having done this, especially 1 month course, who can't necessarily do all the positions, who are, I totally trust to become great speakers and become great teachers and they're really enthusiastic. All the Hotpod classes that I go to, all the teachers have soothing voices, they're really enthusiastic. I can see that the focus is there and that's what I love. But still, all of my teachers can do pretty much all of the moves. And so although I know you guys are saying that maybe doesn't matter so much, I wondered really if you feel that it is okay to be going out. I really want to understand your thinking on all of it. Just because from my point of view, I absolutely love yoga. I'm quite flexible, fairly strong, but I don't see myself doing handstand within a month. Of course, I'm sure I would be able to improve a lot, but I want to be realistic about my expectations and also how much I can give to people without being able to necessarily do everything that Hotpod Yoga teachers I see doing. What are your thoughts are?
There's always going to be a pose that you can't do, let's face it. Like even the world's best asana practitioner in yoga is much more than that as well. So there's the aspect where you are a physical teacher, but that's not the only thing you're teaching. And then also there's principles of alignment and principles of teaching and sequencing that you can harness should you not be able to do a handstand. You can still do the prep for that and you can still teach that authentically. So what we ask is that people are always authentic. So if you're not practicing it yourself, no, you wouldn't teach it. But you could still do the building blocks and progress with your students, let's say. So you would just err towards, in my mind, stuff that you do feel comfortable with, especially for beginning teaching. And then you will use the roadmaps and everything that we kind of give you and all your experience out there as well, extra workshops, etc. If that's something that you want to incite to achieve a particular asana and be able to teach it, great, then you can work towards that. But that doesn't constitute being a good teacher. Just the ability to practice asana physical poses to a certain level. Really, when you're teaching, it's communicating with people on many levels. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers what you were asking. But yeah, you would teach it when you felt comfortable to teach it.
Yeah.
I think from a physical perspective, it's physically demanding the course itself, and there's only so much you will be able to do, and you will therefore rest, but you will develop a huge amount of strength and openness anyway, and technique. We will do a lot of the prepping in order to do, I suppose, more of those advanced poses, but we'll practice. Because at the beginning we're like, hey, in order to get to handstand, these are the things. But because it is so physically demanding, you're like, so we will teach you techniques and also do inversion-specific workshops and I suppose next stage in terms of postures. But at the same time, those are the things you can take away. Like, I want to focus on that and develop that. And then, if I suppose my thought, chatting, was relating to when I teach a class. If I've been teaching for 6 years, I rarely teach a handstand. I mean, not like I can't really do a handstand. I have to really work at it. I rarely kind of go further and beyond into like more advanced posts, because I find that the majority of students don't like find that too challenging to go there. I might break, and I always kind of break it down. As a teacher, you kind of give the options. You say you can do this, you can do this, or you can even do that. And for you to understand that is the best kind of, well, might be a better teaching approach. At the same time, I think like what discovering within the course is like, yes, I suppose you really start to understand the nitty-gritty of like the poses, postures, what's being worked, what you need to really switch on in order to get the best out of it, in order to really develop your own practice. And then you almost kind of go, you almost kind of take a step back, then go 2 steps forward, and then you can discover, work on those more advanced ones should you want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Because it is the worst thing is like trying. I remember trying to do it after my teacher training was to like try and showcase to do something which I couldn't really do, and actually then you come into it quite dangerously. And it's about kind of being aware of what could happen, what could go wrong, what you need to look out for, and I suppose we'll flesh that out and talk it through.
One more thing, so I was just looking at the calendar. Is it so it's full time 1 month, or is it weekends off? And just
So,
like weekdays?
One day off.
One day off, Sunday off. I think the course in August,
10 days straight.
10 days straight, 4 days off, and then 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off.
No, sounds good. I just couldn't do the maths right, so I was just sure if it's like weekends off or no weekends off at all. So, yeah.
And then the one in November is just like 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off.
Okay.
So no 10 days straight.
Just to come back to your question, we can talk afterwards if you have time to hang out, but I think it's really interesting. I think the premise of this course is delivered is to make you capable, ready enough teaching every next class. And the method is to teach a relatively set sequence because it's so, vast what you can learn that you have to start somewhere. That's where I want to tell you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Passionate. And all these teachers you're referring to, they have to start somewhere. So it's, at the moment, having just certified, I gave 4 classes so far, and I taught that set sequence. And then it depends really on the personality. If you like, I know this, and I know I can deliver it well. I'm a little bit different, and I think I want to vary. So it requires now me learning more by myself, or going to workshops, or looking online, or going to classes, whatever. That's my process, but maybe someone else would just go for 2 years and teach that set sequence and make people very happy.
Yes.
So it's also about how you feel about what you're giving.
I just wanted to know the max class size that you guys have.
The max we've ever had is
Yeah.
20. So we had 8, 9?
Starting from 9 or 20.
I think this one was just so
to go.
But yeah, so nothing more than 20. Anything else?
Just to confirm, the 20 hours are 20 hours of practical learning, not including the
200 hours.
200 hours.
200 hours is, say that again, sorry.
So the 200 hours is that of practical classes.
That's
or
on
is
site,
that
whether it's
on-site?
practical class or posture clinic or workshop or whatever's on the schedule. That's 200 hours within the crucible of the education, basically, like within the actual South Wimbledon location. Yeah. You're welcome to study above and beyond that.
Cool. I think we'll leave it there. If you've got any questions
Yeah,
you'd like to
we're
ask,
here.
we're here
When I come
in
and
2
chat.
minutes. But thank you very much for giving up your wonderful sunny evening. Yeah, hope to see you soon.
Tomorrow I'll circulate dates for the rest of the year and for 2019 and a digital course brochure so you guys have some more information about what the course looks like and that daily schedule that we saw and what's included and what's not included, what to bring, that kind of stuff. so you will have that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.